Welcome to TRS Clips, where you'll find happiness through your own curiosity.
I'll tell you about this anecdote in Russia, which you may sort of find interesting to hear. So, I was, as you know, like my job is to invest across countries. And I always, like I used to invest in Russia as part of my overall profile. And I'm also a writer. Now, I had met Putin as part of, like a group of investors. We had met him when he'd come to New York in his early days. In the early 2000s, he come. And when Putin would come to New York and meet us, I, in fact, was impressed. I thought that, like Russia had gone through this complete chaos in the 1990s when it disintegrated. The Soviet Union disintegrated. Russia went through complete chaos. So I was very sort of, in terms of impressed that Putin's trying to come there and put stability. He cut taxes. He appeared very business friendly. And his basic deal was that, listen, you businesses, you keep out of politics and you can go do what you feel like. I'm there to create an environment which is good for you and to put this country back together after the disintegration that took place in the 1990s. So when all very impressive and stuff like that. Then in the 2000s, and the Russian economy also did quite well. The commodity boom happened. It's a big commodity exporter, oil exporter. It did all very well. Then as the commodity prices began to sort of, not go up too much, by 2010, also the Russian economy seemed to be running out of steam. It was not doing that well and things like that. Nothing too perilous, but not doing that well. So I was going to Moscow to attend a conference, and I got a call from like people who were hosting the conference that even Putin is going to be there at the conference. So they told me that since Putin's going to be there, their office is requesting that why don't you give a presentation when you're at the conference, because it would benefit Putin to listen to what you have to say. Because, in terms of you're a large global investor, you're a writer, we value what you have to say, why don't you do that? So I said, okay, I'm coming for the conference, I'll do it. And they said to me I said, but what do you want me to say? So they said that give a frank objective view that what is your take on the Russian economy? I said, okay. I took the word frank literally. So I land up in Moscow. It's in the Moscow Convention Center, and Putin is there on stage. And then I'm called to come and give my talk at this conference about what I feel about Russia. I go on stage and then I start my presentation and I tell Putin then, I address him that, when you first came to power, the country was in chaos and stuff. And these are the steps you took to help the country stabilize. That's great. But now these are the problems in Russia. And I went A, B, C, D, too much corruption, too much focus on big business, not enough small and medium-sized enterprises, not, no like ability to build any good brands. I went through the whole list about what the problems too dependent on just oil. All the problems in Russia were. There was hushed silence in the crowd. I could make out something was not working. What I did not realize was that this was being telecast live across Russia in terms of what I was saying, and Putin was sitting there. And he is very poker-faced. He looked at me, but he didn't say anything. He looked like he was taking notes down and stuff. I ended my speech, like in terms of shook hands, and then I went and sat. Then he came to speak on stage. He spoke in Russian. He never speaks in English ever. And I was hearing the translation. It seemed as if it was okay. He referred to my speech once or twice and said that he pointed this out, and I guess we should take care of this and all that. But I could make out my conference organizers were not happy at what had happened. I went back to my room and I slept then in the evening. Next morning, I was woken up by my office in New York with, those days I was working at Morgan Stanley, and I was called by, one of the top people at Morgan Stanley saying, what have you done? I'm like, what have I done? He said, haven't you read the Russian newspapers this morning? I said, no, I've not read. I don't read Russian. What happened? So they said that Putin has, the press there is controlled all by Putin and his people, the Kremlin press, and they have really attacked you. They've really said that who is this guy who's come here to, spoil the party and stuff. Clearly, they were directed to go after me. And in terms of all the Morgan Stanley people were concerned that their business in Russia, whichever they had, would get destroyed because I had gone out and spoken so candidly, frankly, like the word to use. So I was advised then you should leave Moscow.
Or else?
No, they said, just advise, just go. By the internal people, the Morgan Stanley people telling me. So I left Russia, and then I've not gone back since then. Again, it showed me how much this guy had changed. In the early 2000s, when you would meet him, he was taking inputs. He was telling you what he's doing to make Russia right. 10 years more in power. He sort of thinks Russia is doing fine. I've got all this oil money and I'm sitting here. And who is this guy who's come here and telling me in terms of what I should do and what's wrong with this economy? And the whole system had been created where anybody who speaks against Russia or speaks against, even if I'm not speaking against, I'm giving feedback. It's my investor interest to see Russia do better. But because I said all this, I've been completely blacklisted, and no matter what happens, I don't want a similar ecosystem to be created in India, where if you say something or you do something very, very frankly, you are going to be instantly targeted for being anti-national, for being this.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic as long as you're willing to search for it.